What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my friends. I'm Henrikuto, and thank you for tuning in for this very special holiday episode. And not only is this a special holiday episode, but we have another special holiday episode that we'll be releasing next week, just in time for Christmas. And this episode is extra special because we tried a little something different. I teamed up with Ray Mattis, our composer, who did the excellent theme you hear at the beginning of the show and the music throughout the show. And we made this episode an audio experience. So it's got some sound effects, lots of music, and it's a little bit more of like a full-blown experience that I think you'll really enjoy. It's immersive, and I think it's a damn good time because it's the holidays. I love celebrating them, and I gotta say, it is getting cold out here in the Midwest. We had a day of snow, then a day of sleet, and now we are into a day of freezing rain. And I love snow because it's beautiful, but it's also fascinating to me because snow is so deadly. Think about it. You see snow, and I'm sure your first thought is like, maybe, oh man, it's beautiful. And then your next thought is, oh crap, I gotta drive in this. Snow can tell you two things. It can tell you, hey, it's the holiday season, better get some hot cocoa and chill out. But it can also tell you, hey pal, you're not going anywhere. And that's what tonight's story is all about. So let's get into it right now. A little holiday-themed terror for you. Enjoy, and afterward I'll be back to chat with you for a little bit. Biting Cold by Jeff Carpenter. Pain hit him like a spear in the gut. He was hungry, but he knew that thing out there was too. And he knew its kind never left wounded prey until they could pick the bones clean. He was sheltered, safe for now, or so he hoped, dug into his snow cave. He shifted his body, bumping up against the cold walls. He couldn't see his right arm, and maybe that was for the best. The solidity of the snow walls comforted him, but it was a frozen comfort, a chilled comfort for his cold, tired bones. A sound carried over the crisp air. His ears pricked up, chattering, an incessant clacking that assaulted his ears. It was his own noise. With every intake of breath, he could feel the sharp, cold shoot through his teeth. His teeth chattered, but he could not feel them. He longed for another familiar sound, a sound that would take him home. In his breast pocket was a cell phone with very low battery charge. He was far out of range of any known cell tower, but he still had some voice messages saved that he'd listened to before the blizzard hit. One from his father at the hunting lodge. Christmas was approaching, and his father had exhorted him to check the trap lines one more time before the big snow hit hard and stranded them. He was sure his father had attempted a search for him, but the guests had gone home for the holidays, and the wheelchair would have been useless, much beyond the packed-down paths around the cabin in the snow. Another message from his little girl back in the city, complaining about her new braces and how they hurt her teeth and made her lips bleed when she practiced her carols for the choir. She would be caroling out there tonight, braving the cold in her sore gums to spread her joy to the world around her. She'd left him one last message, but he would leave that one unheard until he really needed to hear it. He would survive. For her. He exhaled and felt the steamy breath in front of his face. He tried to breathe warmth into his fingers on his left hand, but they were well past numb now. Out there was the only hope for life. But death lurked there in the shadows. If he did nothing, if he curled up in his icy tomb and let sleep overtake him, the beast would have him still. It would dig in and dig him out, scavenge his cold, tired bones like a grave robber. The beast's teeth would crunch and crush the bones and frozen flesh of his rigid corpse, just as easily as if he had offered himself to it. It would swallow him in huge, choking gulps. And then he would be gone, and it would be night forever. He closed his eyes, tight enough to shut out the images in his brain. The creature invading the hole with its snout, slavering to get at the bloody, sweating slab of meat still living inside. If only he could last through the night, then maybe one more night. It was just the last night that it all had happened. The avalanche had thrown a tree on top of him. Brought a whole damn tree down on top of him. It must have been the rifle shot that set it off. Must have been. From behind him, the rumble came out of nowhere. The tree had torn his arm from his shoulder and left it gashed and bleeding. When he came to with a violent tug on his arm socket, the beast's beady red eyes dared him to wrench his arm back into place. He let the animal take his prize. It was no good to him anymore anyway, but now the beast knew he was weakened and had limited mobility, had limited range, had tasted mortality, and was handicapped. It would come again and again to test its prey's strength and its ebbing will to survive. If he could only make it to the tree, the upturned tree, its branches ready-made kindling, the waterproof matches in his pocket were still good, he hoped. Fire. A glorious fire could be kindled, bringing warmth to this long night, warming his belly, slacking his thirst, thawing his fingers. The beast would feed him, its long dense fur, the oil in its hairs would keep the frost off of him. His boot would hold enough snow to melt into drinking water. His left hand clenched into a fist. It needed to hold something solid. His bolt-action Remington had been broken and buried by the tree's weight. No weapon. Still. The branches could make a spear, but he didn't have a knife to sharpen it. Teeth. He had teeth, as did the beast, of course, and he would pit his molars, canines, and sizers in his dizzy brain against the animals. He had 32, 31 after that drunken brawl. Molars for grinding and sizers for biting and cutting. Canines, his eye teeth, for tearing and ripping. He would chew the bark and spit it out. He would chew the fleshy tip of his branch into a wicked sharp point of death-dealing, plunge it into the gut of the ravenous animal, finally killing its hunger. He had no fingers, not that he could feel anyway. He could pull himself to the tree, but that could loosen the shirt of his makeshift tourniquet and open the flow of blood again. He can feel himself succumbing to the cold, to his leaking blood, to the dark night all around. It was now or never. His eyelids flutter. To sleep, or... He moves. He pushes out the hole, crawling at first, then limping, stooping, gradually more erect, from animal to man, a momentary recurrence of evolutionary strides. He can do it. He is doing it. His numb fingers find the tree. With a grunt, he feebly snaps off twigs. He clutches them clumsily in his single arm. They slip and fall out. He scoops them up again. He collects and breaks off branches of various sizes from the falling tree, smaller for kindling, larger for the main fuel of the fire. He stacks them in a rickety pyramid. His hand, curled like a useless claw, clutches the matchbox to his chest. He pulls out one match with his teeth. His lips tremble as he bends his head to the matchbox striking surface. The match flares up and burns his lips. It falls to the snow and fizzles. He tries again and manages to catch it aflame. He ignites the pyramid stack of wood. With the warmth comes the feeling back into his fingers. He bites into the fleshy wood, his lips curling at the bitter taste of bark. He grinds away at the wood, periodically spitting out the pulpy ball of mulch. He wipes the wood juice running down his chin with the back of his hand. The hot saliva runs cold and icy down his chin, almost freezing solid before running down his neck collar. He breaks a tooth and whimpers in pain. Then he stops. He sees a motion at the edge of the perimeter of the circle of firelight. His eyes dart to the right, scanning the flickering shadows and darkness beyond. He holds the rim of the boot collar to his lips, awaiting the refreshing slake of liquid to quench his thirst. The smell hits him first, the foul, pungent odor. Then the crushing weight of the beast slams into his chest, bowling him over. His arms flail to fight for balance, but he's gone, and so is his boot. Flung into the fire, splashing water, it sizzles and steams. And then the Wolverine growls and makes his slow advance, haltingly, limping. The beast leaps on him, snarling, slavering hot spit and wet saliva on his face. He turns his head, avoiding its snapping teeth, the hot breath on his face. It pushes on top of him for better advantage. It will have him soon. He can feel himself losing the battle. His eyelids flutter. To sleep? Or... He bites into the exposed neck of the beast through wet fur. The beast jerks and rears back, giving him enough room to reach his stride and grab the spear. He plunges the spear deep into the belly of the beast. It howls in agony and its tongue lolls in its mouth, tasting mortality. The Wolverine slumps to the ground, its fur bathed in the orange glow of the fire. He raises his stick in victory. He circles the body of the Wolverine, watching it closely. The steam escaping from the gash in its belly as it slowly cools to the outside temperature. Snap! Teeth bite into his ankle. The shin bone of his leg fractures. The unrelenting metal jaws of one of his steel traps enclose his lower leg. He hits the ground hard. He stares at the Wolverine's missing forelimb, the nub where it had bitten it off to escape, and then his own missing arm. The Wolverine's eyes now closed, its soft lashes whiting over the fresh snowflakes. His lashes, too, grow heavy with white flakes. The flickering flames of the fire die to embers. His eyelids flutter. He takes the cell phone out of his breast pocket. One last unheard message. He clicks it. It is his daughter, singing softly. He closes his eyes and listens to the carol on repeat until the battery dies.
A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh hear the angels' voices, oh night divine.
A thought passes through his frozen mind. To sleep or... So be honest, did it give you chills? Because I gotta be honest, these stories very often give me chills while I'm narrating them. It's one of the reasons I have such a fun time sitting in a dark room alone with a microphone. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not really alone, I'm with you guys. But and I thought Biting Cold was no exception. And I want to say again, what a great job Ray Mattis did composing and creating the soundscape for the episode. And maybe every now and then we'll do a special immersion episode and we'll bring Ray in again. So please feel free to comment or email. Go to weeklyspooky.com and let us know if you had a great time with it and if you'd like to hear some more stories like that. I gotta tell you, as I'm talking to you guys right now, I am a little bit exhausted. It is the holiday season, and it is in full tilt and boogie in my home, at least. I have presents I need to wrap that I've been putting off. I have two Christmas specials of Weekly Spooky to put together. This one, obviously, you're listening to right now, and the next one I'll be working on very, very soon. And I'm actually filming tonight, as you're listening to this, tonight, I am filming the Christmas special of my TV movie hosting show, Popcorn Fodder, which, if you haven't heard about it, you should check it out at popfod.com, or you can go to weeklyspooky.com and find basically everything. But it's been a good holiday, but I'm definitely a little bit tired, and it's the Wednesday before Christmas, and I've got nonstop stuff to do today. Non-stop stuff to do tomorrow. Friday's not going to be quite so crazy as long as I kick butt and take names today and tomorrow. But boy howdy, sometimes the holidays become so booked. And I hope if you're listening to this, you are in the midst of getting your long list of holiday demands done, and you're starting to feel a bit Christmassy. Watch some Christmas movies or something. Sit down and watch Silent Night, Deadly Night for the 80th time. I assure you, it will deliver as it always does every single year. But I do want to say real quick, before I let you guys go, that I'm very thankful. Our Patreon has grown substantially. We now have 70 members. When we started it this year, before Weekly Spooky even launched, when we first started the Patreon, we only had, I think we started with a good 18 or 19 people. And to grow to 70 people is a huge, huge help. The Patreon has made a huge difference in my life, and honestly, that is the little something under the tree I really could use this holiday season. So I just want to thank everybody who is already supporting this show and all of the other projects I do on Patreon, and if you're thinking about it, maybe now is the time to jump on board. Again, all of that stuff you can find at weeklyspooky.com, and I don't want to sit here trying to sell you guys a ton of stuff, but I have to do a little bit. I have to pay the bills. I have to feed the rescue dogs. And as always, Weekly Spooky is not only brought to you by Patreon, but brought to you by our sponsor, henflix.com, which of course is the movie store of the films I make. My day job is as a filmmaker making movies, and we just released a brand new collector's edition of Amityville No Escape, my entry into the Amityville series of films, and it's a creepy, spooky flick. It's got reversible artwork. It is autographed by 6 members of the cast and crew, and it is waiting for you at henflix.com. So if you get a chance, check that out. I would say it makes a great stocking stuffer, but you'd have to order it wicked quick for me to get it to you in time. But anyway, I just hope you guys are having a really great holiday. That's really the only concern I have. I am, although as I said, I am a bit tired. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. We're going to go into the holidays together, but I will see you guys next week for a Weekly Spooky original story to ring in Christmas, and the following week, a Weekly Spooky original story to ring in the new year. So for myself, for our wonderful producer, Dan Wilder, and the amazing and talented composer and sound man, madman, Ray Mattis, I'll talk at you later.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you're safe. Trust me.